The final debate before Iowa being described today as the dullest political event in years by the New York Post's John Podhoretz. Former Vice President Joe Biden failing to bring the fireworks last night, leading even some on the Obama-Biden administration team to pan his performance as boring.
Actually, I thought this was Elizabeth Warren's best debate. As for the vice president, his closing was very, very strong. You wonder where that energy is throughout the debate. There were times when he seemed, very much sort of low energy.
Here now, Tammy Bruce, president of Independent Women's Voice and a Fox News contributor, and Austin Goolsbee, former chief economist for President Obama. Welcome to both of you. Austin, I want to go to you, but first I want to also play this from Van Jones last night. Listen to this.
I want to say that tonight for me was dispiriting. The Democrats got to do better than what we saw tonight. There was nothing I saw tonight that would be able to take Donald Trump out, and I want to see a Democrat in the White House as soon as possible. There was nothing tonight that, if you're looking at this thing, you say any of these people are prepared for what Donald Trump is going to do to us.
Austin, do you agree?
I don't think I agree. I mean, the first thing I'd say is pundits especially, but everybody puts way too much weight on the debates and the thought that we want somebody to go in there who can really punch them out in the debate. If you remember in 2016, all the pundits and all the polls suggested that Hillary Clinton won big in the debates, but when it came to the day of voting, it didn't make any difference what the polls or the pundits had
but
said.
You know what? It's not punch them out. It's like fire them up. I mean, get some energy, some enthusiasm, something that people say, I want to follow that person. I want to go where he or she is going. Tammy, I think of President Obama. I think of Bill Clinton. I mean, I was in the room in 2004 at the Boston Convention, and you knew that man was going to be president one day. Where is that?
I agree with you, the enthusiasm, but it's not necessarily in the debates. And I mean, what does it say about me? I'm the policy guy. I thought this was the most interesting of the Democratic debates we've had so far.
Well, one of the best examples, of course, is the Republican debates with Donald Trump. You had a massive field, of course. They had to separate the parties because it was so big. But this is where Americans get to see who's got a fire in the belly, who really wants to be president. That's one of the signifying aspects. And this is now the smallest group we've had. We've had about 6 people. They've been debating with each other, but it's been always too big for you to really know where someone stands. This was a chance for someone to really indicate that I want this. But I would contend that for both the Republicans and the Democrats, and what the problem was in 2016 for the Republicans, is that you've always had a next in line. You've never really had an environment where somebody could actually battle themselves to the front who wasn't already, like Hillary, presumed to be the next in line. And so people were more jockeying to be the vice president or to be considered for a cabinet or for the next 4 years. And so this is now what the system has done to both parties, frankly, where you've got individuals who, in a way, don't know how to compete, who maybe are realizing Trump will win in November, and they're thinking about moving their own message or thinking about themselves for 2024.
Van Jones said he didn't see anybody up there who could beat President Trump. Austin, what do you say to that?
I feel differently. I think the president did not win by very many votes the last time. And if you trust the polls, his popularity's down a little bit. So if the Democratic candidate is reasonable and puts up a decent showing, I think it's at least going to be a very close contest. And I think pretty much anybody on that stage, Bernie Sanders and I have not always seen eye to eye, but I think for the most part, the Democratic candidates will put up a pretty good showing. I do think that Tammy's right and that you are right. They will need to inspire Democrat voters to get out there and vote. But I don't think that just in the debate is where that takes place. I think that's more like out on the campaign.
We got to go. But there was one man who wasn't in the debate, Mike Bloomberg, who thinks that he can be that guy. So we'll save that for our next conversation. Austin Goolsbee, thank you. Tammy Bruce, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you both tonight. So leaders in Iran.